So this is one that I don't really have an agenda for. I just think it's really interesting. This is something that I do every year. And this is last episode. I was talking about the top 25 and how I feel like I personally feel like Washington is kind of getting screwed. And so this is where my thought process comes in. I don't want to just talk about Washington, but I want to talk about some of the other teams too. Like you look at a team like Washington, all right, they have 40% returning production. That ranks 126th in the nation. However, they have a portal class of 8th. Now, portal classes can be deceiving because you can get a lot of players in there that brings your portal class up. But still, like a lot of players are coming to Washington after they lost a lot of players. A team like Michigan has 36% returning production, 130th, and only the 80th rate portal class. So you're telling me that Michigan, according to Joel Klatt last week, is 8th in the nation with a 36% returning production and 80th portal class, but Washington, who has a higher returning production and a 10 times higher portal class, they just don't have anything. I get Michigan has a few first round picks on their team. Will Johnson, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Colson Levelin. Don't get me wrong. Those guys are there, but still, who's going to be around those guys? I'm not saying that Michigan doesn't deserve to be in the top 10. I'm just saying if Michigan is up there, Washington should at least be in the top 25. That's my observation from this list. Travis, what were some of your thoughts from looking at these returning production and portal ranking numbers?
Yeah, so I mean, just off of your point, I would say that Washington has some plug and play guys in there, so that just furthers your argument even more. Given that Michigan, you mentioned a couple guys, but we really don't know. When I was looking at the portal list, I would say it was kind of not necessarily shocking, but surprising that basically I was going through it and it seemed like almost like there was a Big Ten team, like every group of 5 teams had a Big Ten team. Basically, I mean, some of them, you get further down the list, it was a little bit off, but I mean, I didn't realize before I looked at that there were so many highly rated transfer portal classes in there. But some of them, like Michigan State, obviously needed it. I mean, there was just plenty of roster holes. I mean, until last week, I think we had like maybe two or three scholarship defensive tackles on our roster. So that obviously wasn't going to work. We got a couple commitments during that time. And I mean, it's just Oregon was another team that benefited. I mean, obviously big time on here. You can see it second, but they end up with Evan Stewart coming in there, Jabbar Muhammad, Dylan Gabriel, even Dante Moore. So they double dipping at quarterback there. We mentioned Indiana earlier with a couple of their James Madison guys, and with I'd say their transfer portal. I think it was important with their quarterback situation, with getting a Curtis Rourke, veteran guy from Ohio, and even though it was just a MAC school, who knows what role he's going to play there if he wins the starting job, whatever. But that kind of thing is good for their program. And then, I think Russ can speak a little more to this, but Purdue had a lot of guys coming in. I mean, they had a lot of guys going out too, but they had a lot of guys coming in. And, to his point earlier with the Georgia connection, that should help them a lot. I would think it's just, I noticed that like with their passing game, their receivers had kind of, not really necessarily a mass exodus, but it was a big part of big contributors from their team had left in that position. And then just building off that receiver thing in the transfer portal, I think it was a big get for Penn State to get Fleming from Ohio State in the portal. I mean, I don't know what the situation was there with him, but Penn State's offense really needed somebody like that last year. So he should definitely,
especially after losing Lambert Smith this year.
Yeah, definitely. And then, just looking at the returning rate, that everybody has a high return rate right now, except for Michigan and Washington, which is crazy. I don't think I've ever seen it like that. I mean, I haven't paid that much attention to it, but I don't think I've ever seen it like that.
Yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, like you see a few teams on here that the high returning rate matches the high portal ranking. Oregon obviously leads this list, top 25 in returning production, and then second in the portal rankings. So that's really good for them. Nebraska, 20th in returning production, 59th in portal rankings. You know, portal rankings are a little bit difficult to see how well they can do at times because you don't know if people are just bringing in depth, if they're bringing in starters, but still, like, that's good for them. Teams that, you know, just really didn't attack the portal, you can see they had a pretty good returning production. Other than Northwestern, pretty concerned about Northwestern. I trust David Braun, don't get me wrong. I don't know how you can't after this last year, but to only have 59% returning production, you didn't have a single guy go to the NFL, and only 120th in portal rankings. Like, I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a concern. And then one last thing before we kick it to Russ, because I know Sean is in here in the chat. Rutgers is definitely going to surprise. Took a decade to get the O-line and D-line to Big Ten standard, but a ton of people are sleeping on them this year. I agree. I think we talked about it when we had Larry on. I think that Rutgers, 8-9 wins is a very real possibility for Rutgers this year with the way their schedule is playing out. And then you think about the returning production rating to 72nd. They don't have their quarterback coming back. And if you ask Rutgers fans, they improved their quarterback situation. I don't know if you ask Minnesota fans that, if they agree, but yeah. That's what Rutgers fans say. So at the end of the day, like, you know, in Kirk Soraka, like, he got his quarterback, the guy that he had at Minnesota, and Athan Kaliak-Manis, and he had his best games when he was under him. So we'll see if Greg Schiano and his guys can capitalize on that. But Kyle Monangai, leading rusher in the Big Ten last year, coming back, a good offensive line with a good amount of guys there coming back. So we'll see what happens. Russ, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's Travis started touching on one of the groups, but two of the big groups that Purdue tried to get in the portal, they did a decent job of getting bodies at offensive line and wide receiver, because we did have a mass exit, especially at the wide receiver position, and then at offensive line, we just were not healthy. We could not stay healthy. And we went and got some big body dudes at offensive line to try to help protect Hudson Card, because, you look at the Illinois-Minnesota games last year, and those were encouraging as a Purdue fan going into this year, because those were examples of what can happen if everything goes right.
Is it true, Russ, that Ryan Walters, he told the NIL to go pay more offensive linemen than receivers, and that's why the receivers kind of started heading out? That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true, though.
I'm not sure. I do know that if you're an outsider, you're kind of a casual Purdue fan wondering why there was such a mass exodus this year. You got to keep in mind that Walters was hired really late going into last season. He this is really his first roster transition this year. Like, he had guys that they were kind of waiting to see who Purdue was going to hire, what was going to happen, and then I think they kind of got stuck. And he kind of cryptically said that some of his coaches shows that you're going to be surprised by some of the guys that transfer out, but we want guys that are a good fit for our program and what we're going to do here. And it was surprising seeing guys like Deion Burks leave. It was our leading receiver. And, seeing Nick Scorton, who led the Big Ten at sacks, leave. Too. So, yeah. But we got some really good bodies in the portal. And I think one thing that could add to the context of this list is, what's your quarterback situation? Are you returning a quarterback, and what was his production like in the Big Ten? Because, you talked to Eric over the OHI podcast with you there, JR, and there's some nervousness, I think, amongst these fan bases. Every time you get a transfer quarterback, it does not always work out. You get some tandem Mordecai's in there, and is Will Howard going to work out for Ohio State? Will Rogers, Dylan Gabriel, like all those guys, are they really going to hit? Because that's the biggest key, right? That's the most important position in football, is your quarterback. And you could have a lot of returning production. You could stack up running back and receiver, but if you don't have a guy that can throw the ball in this day and age in college football, it's not going to matter really what your returning production and what your portal ranking is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you ask any Ohio State fan, and you ask them honestly, and they give you an honest answer. Like, the quarterback position is something that Ohio State fans are definitely concerned about. And I think it helps that you brought Chip Kelly in, who is known for doing a better job of running the ball. And you have the tandem duo of Judkins and why am I blanking on his name? Henderson. I love that guy. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name, but Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, like that's a huge addition to get that, duo in the backfield.
Yep.
But you did lose Dallin Hayden, and Ohio State has struggled to keep their running backs healthy. So you lose your third guy who would have been, really, really good, and now you're relying on a freshman, 2 true freshmen to be your 3 and 4 in the running back room. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I hope that Chip Kelly uses Will Howard as the battering ram quarterback that he needs to use him as. Not that I don't trust Will Howard as a thrower. I think he would have been benched at Kansas State is being used a little bit too much. I talked to the guys over at Cocaine Willie, and that's not exactly the situation from the way they tell it. Maybe they're just being nice to me, but that's not exactly the way it was going. But I think that Will Howard is a very capable quarterback, and we'll see if capable can win a national championship. Capable can win you 10, 11 games, but that's not what Ohio State fans want to see. They want to see national championships. So ask Kyle McCord if 11 games is enough. Some other teams on here that I want to highlight and get you guys' thoughts on really fast. Illinois, 60th in returning production, 51st in portal rankings. It's kind of middle of the pack there with both of them. Are we expecting a backslide from Illinois this year? Terrence Brooks is coming in, so that does help the secondary there a little bit after losing some guys. But Luke Altmaier coming back. Are we buying anything better for Illinois this year, or are we thinking maybe a backslide from what it was last year?
Yeah, I'm thinking that they're going to not be happy. I think, as much as I talk about Matt Rule being an experienced coach and he couldn't finish last year, Bielema is a very experienced coach, and they did not get a bowl game last year. And they got, as much as there was especially online rivalry between, before the basketball stuff happened with Illinois and Purdue, there was a bit of a back and forth on Twitter and on X between the football programs because obviously we got their defensive coordinator as our head coach. And so there was this back and forth. And then what happened when we played Illinois? We beat the pants off of them. So, and then again, this offseason, we're stealing guys from them, right? We got Reggie Love to add to Devin Mockabee to have a pretty decent rushing attack this year. So, I think Illinois, I think this could be possibly the last year for Bielema, and they're looking elsewhere to try to find a new, younger, up-and-coming coach.
Wow. Especially after coming off that 2022 season, which was really, really good. They almost won the Big Ten West that year. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Travis, you have any thoughts on Illinois?
I would say that I think they're probably at status quo with what they did last year. It's going to be about the same. I have no expectations of them getting better or worse, honestly. But
yeah. 2 more teams I want to point out, and then we'll get out of here unless the commenters say anything that I want to address. Wisconsin, 30th in returning production, 24th in portal rankings. They lost their quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, coming in. I think it's impressive whenever you're up, around top 30, top 40, and you lose your starting quarterback just because you lose so much production by losing that. So, Tyler Van Dyke coming in, you lost your starting quarterback. You still have, and Braylon Allen leaving, which, he was injured last year. So that would make sense why the returning production isn't lower, but still, Wisconsin, 30th, 24th. Travis, you feeling any better about Luke Fickell's chances this year, seeing these numbers?
So like I said earlier, I think they're a team that could be better than they were last year, but it won't reflect in their final record because of what they have to go up against. I think adding an arm like Tyler Van Dyke to that offense to run that offense and, be NFL caliber quarterback like some people think he is, helps the offense that Fickell wants to run much more than what he was working with Mordecai last year. Now the running game outside of Braylon Allen is another question there, but the offense last year wasn't what he wanted it to be, especially in some really key games, and they need to take steps on the offensive end if he wants to continue building that up and actually improving the team.
Yeah. The offense last year definitely hurt him in a few areas. With they would have won the Ohio State game if they would have just had the offense step up. But of course they had Lockie and was that the game Akers was in? I think they had their second string quarterback and third string running back. So kind of Ohio State kind of got a break there because Kyle McCord wasn't having the best game. I think he got injured that game too. But Russ, any thoughts on Wisconsin?
Yeah, you kind of talked about it a little bit. Like I said, the context of this chart, it looks like it's pretty much running back and wide receiver, like rushing and receiving yards, production wise, nothing to do with the quarterback. And so the quarterback situation could add a lot of context to what these rankings could really mean moving forward. And we talked about on the basketball side of things, football is similar. You play the transfer portal game and it can work and you can hit, but it's also like you're just turning a half your hand in poker and you're going, hope it works. And sure it will. Sometimes it'll hit and you'll have a great season, but it could also turn into another repeat of Tanner Mordecai last year. And you're looking at maybe on the brink of missing a bowl game.
Yeah, and Tanner Mordecai being hurt last year definitely hurt them at times, and I always forget if it's Locke or Lockey. And he wasn't bad. He wasn't a difference maker at quarterback for you. Which
and Chad Lucy was a serviceable running back last year. He had some good performances.
Yeah,
so I think their running back, their running situation is less of a question mark than what Van Dyke's going to do coming in.
Yeah. Last one. Most polarizing team, I think, in the Big Ten. You ask some people, and it's like, nope, they got to prove it. This team stinks. And then you ask their fans, and they're like, we're going to the playoffs, top 4 seed coming in at you. USC, Lincoln Riley. I saw Bud Elliott had him 30th on his coaching rankings. I am no Lincoln Riley defender, but the guy did go to the playoffs multiple times and did bring USC back from 5-7 to a double-digit win season or something like that. So I get last year was bad, but I'm not, like I said, I'm no Lincoln Riley defender, but still, 30th is pretty low. But they do have 76 returning production, which isn't great, but 19th portal class. Miller Moss threw 6 touchdowns against Louisville, so the hype is definitely there for him. Travis, are you in the boat of USC is going to be just fine? USC is going to playoffs, or are you kind of like USC? Don't worry about them. Defense stinks.
More the second, but not really either. It's like I don't think they're going to the playoff, but I don't think it's as bad as some people think it is. I think there's stuff to work with there. I think one of the things that they're going to have to get used to is the travel in the middle of the season, obviously, but also the landscape of a new conference and the difficulty. Like, for being honest, in the Pac-12, there weren't a lot of defenses that they were playing that they're going to face in the Big Ten. That's just a reality. So they're kind of working with some new pieces over there, but I think they'll be okay eventually. Just, I don't know. Obviously for them, it's always playoff or bust. I don't think they're good enough to that yet, but I think they'll be fine at least.
Fine at least.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that prediction.
There's I mean, I don't know. There's not a better way to put it, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think that was a fun way to put it. So I like that. Russ, your thoughts on USC?
Yeah, I mean, you said it first there. It's a lot about what have you done for me lately. That's what college football is now anymore, and college sports as a whole. Because, what I said about Bielema, it's no indictment on him as a coach. Bielema, Matt Rule, they're great head coaches, but, they have short leashes because everybody wants to be successful right now. And with the transfer portal and NIL, it's possible to do that. And so, you come into the season with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and these expectations of going to the playoff, and you go 7-5, that it's, exactly. You have another middling year and people are ready to pull the string because, there's not all the programs in the Big Ten are not this way. Like I said, Northwestern, like in Indiana, even a Purdue, they're happy to go to a bowl game and you're successful. But, the USCs, the Nebraskas, the Michigans, the Ohio States, they want double-digit wins and playoff appearances.
Mm-hmm.
So USC, I think, is in that category. And, I'm not saying they're wrong for that. They've had a lot of storied performances, but, it's like Travis said, the Big Ten defense is not the Pac-12 defense. It's a different game. You got to adapt. Even coming from the Big 12, Nebraska was very successful, and they did have some carryover in some good early years, but, you got to build your program and your team differently, and then recruiting. When you're playing in the Big Ten, it could be a little more difficult, come play at USC where we could go play at Michigan and Minnesota and Rutgers, it's quite the pitch.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is the Sean's question here. Anyone else think the Pac-12 teams will struggle to adjust? I'm thinking the O-line, D-line for those teams will get beat up playing full Big Ten schedule. Louisville was gutted in the bowl game so hard to USC. Yeah, we talked about this when we had our very first, is Oregon going to be good in the Big Ten video? And Oregon fans were immediately upset because I had 3 Nebraska guys on, and they were all like, anybody coming to the Big Ten is going to have a hard time, which, you would understand from their from their experience. But I think Oregon's the best set up with the O-line and the D-line, especially with who they've been able to grab in the portal. I mean, Travis, better than anybody, the addition of Derek Harmon is a very good one for them. Yeah. So that's
a big loss for us. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think he's their number one guy. I think he might be 2 or 3 behind I can't remember the guy's name, but there's another guy in there, Bear Alexander. I think
the Georgia guy
entered the portal twice, but now he's back or something like that. But yeah, I think that they're going to be set up pretty well on the Bear Alexander's USC.
Yeah, he's USC.
Oregon's guy, I can't remember who he is, but yeah, I think Oregon's set up well on the D line. I don't know about USC simply because of the depth. Bear Alexander is good, but I question who they have behind him. And then UCLA, I just think it's going to take them a year or 2 after Deshaun Foster got in there. And Washington, we'll see. I don't know. There's just a complete question mark for me.
Yeah, and Oregon's schedule is set up nice. I'm happy. I mean, if I'm Oregon, I'm happy because you get Ohio State at home pretty early on. And, Michigan, like we talked about, the question marks they could have. So you travel to Michigan may not be as daunting as what it seems right now once you get 6 weeks into the season. So, Oregon's, I think, set up to succeed pretty well early in the Big Ten.
I agree.